Yeah, my agent set the deadline. I mean, I'm sure y'all read the statement. Obviously, we've been working with them over a year now, trying to get something done. This is my last time talking about contracts situations. I'm looking forward to having a great season this year.
They ain't cut me. Yes, they did. They must have cut me.
If Mike Evans makes good on his threat to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, then it appears as though the Mike Evans era is over in Tampa Bay. And it makes a lot of sense if you think about it. Before we get to the content, make sure you drop a like, subscribe, and turn on our notifications to help the channel grow. Now that we got all that out of the way, this is pretty much free money. We only need to correctly pick 2 squares to 3x our money on Prize Picks.
That's impossible.
And to celebrate the NFL season kicking off, Prize Picks is giving us a free square. All Dak Prescott needs is 1 passing yard in order to fulfill his square. So you combine that with Travis Kelce, who only needs 1 receiving touchdown. This is old Mike. Old Mike made the mistake of picking Travis Kelce to get 1 receiving touchdown in the season opener. But Travis Kelce is questionable to play versus the Detroit Lions. Thankfully, Prize Picks has reboots. What are reboots? Well, let's say you decide to pick a player who actually plays in the entire first half of the game, and then he gets injured for the entire second half. Well, Prize Picks will count him as a player that didn't play at all whatsoever, and if you made a 3-pick entry, it'll go down to a 2-pick entry, completely disqualifying him from your entry. And since Travis Kelce is out, we're gonna pair Dak Prescott, who will get 1 passing yard, with Justin Jefferson, who only needs 1 receiving touchdown, versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to convert. Make sure you use my promo code Mikerophone to double your deposit on your first entry, and to follow me on Instagram to see who I'm picking each and every day. And thank you, Prize Picks, for the sponsor. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Mike Evans has had a fantastic career with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And to be honest, he's had a fantastic football career. I mean, any quarterback that has been able to make it work with Johnny Manziel, Jameis Winston, eventually getting to play with the greatest quarterback of all time in Tom Brady, and now has to make it work with Baker Mayfield. I mean, you can make a Netflix documentary just off of the quarterbacks that Mike Evans has been able to play with. And through it all, he's had a very successful career and has been criminally underrated in his career. I mean, at the age of 30, Mike Evans is going into his 10th NFL season. So far in each and every season of his career, he's had a 1,000-yard receiving season. He was still able to keep this record alive in 2019, despite only posting 1,157 receiving yards. But despite this, Mike Evans has only made it to the Pro Bowl 4 times and has only been a second-team All-Pro once. That was his only All-Pro team. And in our last video, we discussed his threat to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I don't think he wants anything that's too crazy here. His agent drafted this press release saying when Mike Evans was drafted by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers organization, his promises were to win a Super Bowl and be a Buck for life. He knew he would do everything in his power to make both come true. For the past 9 years, Mike has set records on the field that will surely put him in the Hall of Fame. He is considered one of the most selfless teammates by his peers and coaching staff, and has been one of the most charitable players in the NFL. He loves Tampa and the community surrounding the Bucs, and after keeping his promise of winning a Super Bowl, he hopes to uphold his promise to be a Buck for life. As he enters year 10, he is facing the prospect of doing so with uncertainty surrounding his future. Despite our efforts over the past 2 years and the professionalism of Bucs general manager Jason Licht and assistant GM Mike Greenberg, we have not received an offer to stay in Tampa. This is disappointing to Mike as he sees other teams step up to keep key pieces and players that are important to their organizations. Many players with this status would have held out of camp to not risk injury. Mike has continued practicing hard as always because he puts his team first. When you have a player that will be a Hall of Famer and still has 4 to 6 years to make an impact in the league, you move heaven and earth to keep him on your team. And we would hope ownership feels the same way. We have been working on extending Mike's career with the Bucs for over a year, and we want fans to know that this is not a tactic and the ball is in the owner's court. That being said, we're giving the Bucs until the start of the regular season to make him a Buck for life, and if that cannot happen, 100% of Mike's focus will be on football and his future and where he can continue to make an impact. Mike wants the next phase of his career to be with an organization who wants him and wants him to help win a Super Bowl, which is why we have informed the Tampa Bay Buccaneers organization that we will will discontinue contract discussions as of September 9, 2023. There's so many lies in this statement. The reason why Mike Evans is showing up to camp is because he doesn't want to lose money on what could be the final big contract of his career. Even furthermore, the real reason why Mike Evans wants the contract extension now is because he's about to play a full season with Baker Mayfield. That 1,000-yard receiving streak might go out the window. And I hope I'm wrong. This is no hate to Mike Evans, no hate to Baker Mayfield, but it's a pretty big possibility you don't have Tom Brady throwing you footballs anymore. And hell, even with Tom Brady under center last year, that offense looked a little suspect. So I don't blame Mike Evans for doing what he is doing, and I think he's making the right call here. He's been handling it with class, and even on Thursday, when he was interviewed about the subject, he discussed it with class and gave his point of view. And I don't think it's the wrong point of view. I can understand why he would want to do this.
I'm excited. I'm blessed to be in this position. You know, a lot of people dream of making it to year 10. I'm happy to be here. I feel great. I look forward to a great season with the Bucs this year.
Can you address the deadline that your agent set forth?
Yeah, my agent set the deadline. I mean, I'm sure y'all read the statement. Obviously, you know, we've been working with them over a year now, trying to get something done. Any player in my position would want to be, you know, solidified and secure. But, you know, if the deal's done or not, either way, we'll be okay. And I'm looking forward to having a great season this year.
So Mike Evans said himself that he is just going to handle this as professionally as possible. Any player in his position would want to feel solidified and secured. And whether there's a deal done or not, he is going to be playing football for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this year. Another thing that is important to note is he doesn't really have a say whether the Bucs sign him or not. The Bucs could continue franchise tagging him, but I really think what's going on is Mike Evans doesn't want to be placed in the same position that DeAndre Hopkins got placed in. You see, Mike Evans is 30 years old. He's been an Iron Man for the most part throughout his entire career. He's never had injury issues, and he wants to make sure that he could secure that last big contract before riding off into the sunset. As opposed to DeAndre Hopkins, who was in a much worse situation, I'll admit. DeAndre Hopkins was released by the Arizona Cardinals in late May. At that point, most teams were already solidified, so he had to sign a 2-year contract with the Tennessee Titans. But Mike even tells us what he's gonna do if the Tampa Bay Buccaneers don't give him an offer.
Do you think there will be a deal done?
I don't know. We got a little bit of time left, but you know, we'll see. Ownership and management are going to do what they feel is best for the team and the team's future, and I'm going to do what's best for me and my future. And right now, that's just playing some good ball.
Like, there's stuff when you realize that this is obviously a business, you know firsthand what it is, and you look at the salary cap situation the Bucs are in because of what's happened the last few years, and then you have you and Chris. Do you think it's doable to have you and Chris at a long-term contract and still be a competitive team here?
Absolutely. I think, you know, other teams have done something similar, but this is my last time talking about contracts situations. I'm looking forward to having a great season this year, and you know, whatever happens, you know, I'll be all right.
Mike, is it hard for you to think that this could be your last year here in Tampa?
Nah, like I said, I'm blessed, man. I've been blessed to play this game for a really long time. Made a lot of plays, made a lot of money. You know, it's not even about that. It's just, I'm just happy to be in this position I am.
The problem here is the fact that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers currently are paying back for the Tom Brady era. Now, this isn't as bad as what the LA Rams had to go through, but currently they have $76.7 million in dead money. So they have like $4.6 million in cap space. Don't let that fool you, because that dead cap hit comes down to $203,000 next year. So they could easily re-sign Mike Evans at that point, or they could structure the contract in a way where he'll count against their team cap next year and the year after and the year after that. So it's really up to what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers want to do. And we found out what they want to do, and it's not what Mike Evans wants. According to Diana Rossini, wide receiver Mike Evans, who wants to finish his career a Tampa Bay Buccaneer, gave the team a deadline of September 9, 2023 to offer a contract extension. While the team values Evans, there are no plans for an extension at this time, per league sources. So you might be wondering, what's next for Mike Evans? Well, Diana Rossini comments on that. I'm told by his agent he is focusing on football and is very motivated. So you might be wondering why he's not being a little bit more aggressive. Why isn't Mike Evans stamping his feet and demanding a trade at this point? Because there's no reason to. At this point, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers know what they have in their team, Mike Evans, and in the trajectory of this team. Don't get me wrong, they play in a very weak division, and out of the Atlanta Falcons, Carolina Panthers, New Orleans Orleans Saints and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, really anyone could win that division. So I don't think we're going to get a resolution to this situation until the trade deadline, where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers truly understand where this team is headed. You never know. We know the Baker Mayfield cycle. We've seen times where Baker Mayfield took a team that had no business being a contender and willed them to a playoff victory. Well, I wouldn't say no business being a contender, but we've seen Baker Mayfield surprise us before. Maybe the Tampa Bay Buccaneers really want to see if this could be one of those seasons. Or Baker Mayfield could play the way he did on the Carolina Panthers. He had a very strong preseason, so you really don't know. If this is a team that opens up the season with a 2-5 record, then at that point, yes, you have no choice but to trade Mike Evans. If this is a team that starts out with a 5-1 record, which the jury's out on that, week 1 they face off against the Vikings, week 2 against the Bears, week 3 against the Eagles, then they face off the division rival New Orleans Saints, then they face off against the Detroit Lions, and then the Atlanta Falcons. So really, I mean, my personal prediction for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to start out the season would be possibly 3-3. They could definitely beat that. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of teams that would really like Mike Evans on their roster, most notably the team that really struggled on Thursday Night Football without their true number 1 tight end, the Kansas City Chiefs. This past offseason, the Kansas City Chiefs were convinced they had their wide receiver 1 on their roster in the form of Kadarius Toney. And well, based upon his performance on Thursday Night Football, he really didn't live up to that billing, which would make the Kansas City Chiefs a prime contender for Mike Evans' services. Now, this is assuming that the Chiefs completely lost faith in Kadarius Toney growing as a wide receiver. And bear in mind, the situation that Kadarius Toney was in was one where Travis Kelce wasn't available. So there was a significantly larger emphasis on making sure that the wide receivers of the Kansas City Chiefs were covered, and Patrick Mahomes had one less reliable target to depend on. But if things continue, if the Kansas City Chiefs put together one of their worst starts in recent memory, which could happen, I don't necessarily think it will, then I wouldn't be surprised if they attempted to trade for Mike Evans, even if it is for a 1-year rental. But even at that point, I don't think it would be, because I don't think Mike Evans is looking to reset the wide receiver market. I think Mike Evans just wants stability at the wide receiver position. A contract that'll take him through his mid-30s, his age 34-35 season. And if he's willing to sign a team-friendly deal with a contender like the Chiefs, secure himself as Patrick Mahomes' new wide receiver 1 moving forward, then it could be an ideal situation for him. There's a lot of ways this could go. And if you want a more in-depth analysis as to what happened to the Kansas City Chiefs on Thursday Night Football, it's deeper than what we suggested here. I'll leave a link to that in the end screen so you guys can check it out, and I'll see you over there. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping her a mic until our next upload.